Continuing from the previous text, the scene shifts to Lee Flying's side. He is also at the school organizing classmates to resist the monsters. After blocking the classroom door to create a safe area, he called on classmates with good physical strength to rescue students on other floors. They created ropes using strips of cloth. He climbed to the 3rd floor. As soon as he arrived at the 3rd floor, he saw a monster guarding a classroom. So, they went up together and quickly took care of the monster, just as they were preparing to rescue the trapped classmates. The student and fishing inside the classroom refused Lee Flying's rescue, because he analyzed that there were too many injured classmates in the classroom. Shifting the defense line would be too dangerous. He also suspected that these people might be monsters in disguise, just trying to lure them out. Lee Flying saw that the classmates inside were not willing to evacuate, so he was prepared to go back first. Several monsters suddenly came when they heard the sound. The monster quickly took care of one of the students, but luckily fishing in the classroom opened the door promptly to rescue them, thus narrowly escaping the danger. But the noise of the monster hitting the door was too loud, attracting other nearby monsters to come over in no time. In just 2.5 minutes, they broke open the classroom door. Seeing this, the students inside the classroom felt hopeless. At this moment, Lin Seven-Night appeared as if sent by the heavens. He wielded his long knife with swift movements, killing all the monsters in just 2.5 seconds. The scene left the classmates in the classroom stunned. And fishing unexpectedly started researching the body of the monster, with an excited expression on his face, saying that he had finally found something interesting. But in the blink of an eye, he flatteringly greeted Lin Seven-Night. Lin Seven-Night just exchanged names, and then asked Lee Flying about the situations of Han Ruoruo and Lu Willow. Lee Flying said they were mingling in the crowd and not going crazy, so he found a reason to isolate them in the classroom. Lin Seven-Night is also very satisfied with Lee Flying's approach. Lee Flying was overjoyed when he heard Lin Seven-Night's approval and eagerly asked Lin Seven-Night to say some words of praise to Night Watcher. He has been dreaming of joining. Upon hearing this, Lin Seven-Night told him to first escort his classmates to the auditorium. Now is not the time to discuss this matter. At this time, Red Tassel told Lin Seven-Night that the monster had escaped. Little South is still tracking the monster's traces. But the vice captain browsed through the information and found out that these monsters possess extremely strong camouflage ability and high intelligence, enabling them to seamlessly integrate into human society without drawing attention. It can devour humans and implant snake seeds into their bodies, then control their actions. Ultimately, it can completely devour human society and replace humans with its offspring serpent Yugwai, but fortunately its infectivity is limited. Its main body can only produce 1 snake seed per day. Lin Seven-Night, who has acquired the information, knows that this Yogwai has been lurking in the school for a long time. Now, the monsters are secondary. The most important thing is to save the other classmates first. So he took a group of classmates to rescue people. The man licked the school beauty crazily for 3 years, but never held her hand. Did not expect today, the school beauty actually took the initiative to ask for a hug. And she even hung on him directly, indicating that she wanted to play a little game with him. It turns out that the school beauty at this time has been infected by the monster. Just now, Lu Yuan got into a conflict while trying to rescue the trapped school beauty and classmates and almost ended up fighting. At a critical moment, a fierce monster suddenly jumped out and pounced directly towards the classmates. Watching as a classmate was about to be killed by the monster's mouth. Just in time, Lin Seven-Night arrived and cut off the monster's head with a sword, saving the classmate. After dealing with the monster, Lin Seven-Night approached the last infected student, the school beauty Han Ruoruo. Lu Yuan saw this and stood directly in front of Han Ruoruo to protect her. Lin Seven-Night stepped aside to let the infected student go, then instructed Lee Flying to take the remaining students to the auditorium. At this time, fishing came to Lin Seven-Night's ear and whispered some of his speculations. Upon hearing this, Lin Seven-Night was full of shock. Then he handed the gun to Fishing, asking him to be more careful. Later, he went alone to search for the true body of the Nanda serpent demon. Lin Seven-Night asked Lung Xian if he had seen two students who got separated as soon as he left the group. Lung Xian told him that Han Ruoru and the other person had entered the Meiyin building. He arrived and immediately informed Red Tassel. At this moment, Lu Yuan in the piano room has completely become a dog-like follower, saying that he will definitely protect her. Han Ruoru smiled and reached out to him after hearing this. When Lu Yuan got closer, she hung on him and said she wanted to do something interesting with him. Just when Lu Yuan's mind was filled with all sorts of colorful images, Han Ruoru suddenly revealed her true form and swallowed Lu Yuan in one gulp. By the time Lin Seven-Night arrived, Lu Yuan had already been infected and turned into a monster. Lin Seven-Night also sent Lu Yuan on his way with a single stroke of the blade. After dealing with Lu Yuan, Lin Seven-Night continued to search for Han Ruoru. Just as he walked into the piano room, he saw Han Ruoru had regained her human form. Lin Seven-Night immediately expressed a desire to chat with her, asking why she suddenly decided to reveal herself and engage in extensive reproduction. Upon hearing this, Han Ruoru suddenly became somewhat nervous and said, "Reproduction is instinctual for our clan. What do you humans understand? Creatures like you with super high intelligence must be able to suppress biological instincts. So what exactly is your conspiracy?" After listening to Lin Seven-Night's words, Han Ruoru laughed. "It seems you really enjoy deduction. Can you guess whether the girl with the long spear on the pawn stage will be able to find the snake seed I planted on you?" Afterwards, Han Ruoru transformed back into her original form and pounced towards Lin Seven-Night. Lin Seven-Night could only dodge in embarrassment. This Nanda serpent Yogwai seems to be the real body, much stronger than the previous monster. Subsequently, Lin Seven-Night fell into a non-stop escape. As long as he can hold on until Red Tassel arrives, it will be okay. So Lin Seven-Night unleashed his remaining divine power to counterattack. He hoped to cut off the tail of the Nanda serpent Yogwai to restrict its mobility. The Nanda serpent Yogwai, whose tail was cut off, howled in pain and anger, looking up at the sky. In the chaos, another tail whipped Lin Seven-Night away. Watching the Nanda serpent Yogwai charging towards him, Lin Seven-Night felt numb all over. He wouldn't sacrifice himself in the first day of the mission, would he? Suddenly, Red Tassel's musket repelled the Nanda serpent Yogwai. Watching Red Tassel reaching out with his hand, Lin Seven-Night felt a warm feeling in his heart. Having teammates is really great. But who knew that the next second, Red Tassel caught her long spear, while he fell down into the bushes. Red Tassel then walked over to check if Lin Seven-Night was okay. Lin Seven-Night said expressionlessly, "I'm fine. You should focus on dealing with Serpent Yogwai." Serpent Yogwai, upon seeing the three individuals converge, quickly fled. Fortunately, Lin Seven-Night's eyes were able to clearly see its escape route, providing information on its whereabouts. Red Tassel danced with the fire spear and then gathered strength to throw it out. The fire spear pierced through the house, like cutting through tofu. After a few people rushed over, they found that Serpent Yogwai had already died completely. But Lin Seven-Night looked at the body thoughtfully, feeling that the death of this Serpent Yogwai seemed a bit too suspicious. At this moment, many students in the auditorium are celebrating their survival after the disaster. And Fishing was inquiring about the information of the Lin Seven-Night organization. Li Flying boasted proudly, "Their organization is called Night Watcher. Even if you know it now, it will be useless because your memory will be erased soon." After all, revealing this kind of thing will cause a great panic. And Fishing curiously asked what the conditions were to join them. Li Flying here looked even more proud. "Do you want to join them? It's not that easy. Their standards for recruiting are very high. But after this is over, I will be able to join them." At this time, Lin Seven-Night also rushed to the auditorium and informed everyone that it was safe. Everyone present was very happy to hear the news. Li Flying was even more excited as he stepped forward to shake hands with Lin Seven-Night. I have achieved great success this time. I should have no problem joining the Night Watcher, right? Lin Seven-Night simply responded in a calm tone. Perhaps. Suddenly, a pistol was pressed against Li Flying's head, and Fishing fired 3 shots in a row and emptied the magazine. Suddenly, all the classmates became chaotic. The young man's head was pierced by 3 holes, but he did not die as a result. Instead, he was especially excited because he felt that this was his awakening of superpowers. But in fact, he is a monster. Originally, and Fishing has always suspected that Li Flying has a problem. He was constantly probing Li Flying even before Lin Seven-Night arrived at the auditorium. His suspicion of Fishing deepened as he watched Li Flying's confidence in joining the Night Watcher. And when he saw how attentive he was towards Lin Seven-Night, Fishing deduced that he was the Nanda Serpent Yogwai. So Fishing fired 3 shots towards Li Flying. After being shot, Li Flying asked Lin Seven-Night if he had awakened superpowers. Lin Seven-Night directly exposed the truth that he is a Nanda Serpent demon. But Li Flying is unwilling to believe. He continues to firmly believe that he is Li Flying. Lin Seven-Night picked him up in one go. The divine authority of Seraphim flashed. Countless golden lights crazily surged into Li Flying's spiritual world. Suddenly, Li Flying's body went limp, and he fainted. The next second, a strong hand fiercely grabbed Lin Seven-Night's wrist. Li Flying's eyes suddenly opened as well. He asked in puzzlement, How did you discover it, Lin Seven-Night? Based on your stage, you shouldn't be able to see through my disguise. Lin Seven-Night immediately shook off Li Flying's hand. I indeed cannot see through it. Otherwise, I would have exposed you when you reported the case. But since I entered this school, everything that has happened here seems reasonable yet also reveals an air of strangeness. If you want to escape, why did you boldly run to the piano room? If you want to slaughter, why not expand the range of infection? The 3rd floor where Fishing is located is full of injured students, who clearly have no resistance, but the infected do not attack them. When you come to rescue them, the infected swarm towards you. This may seem chaotic and disorganized, but through careful analysis, one can discover that you have only one purpose in doing so. That is to highlight that Li Flying is a hero who can selflessly risk his life to save his classmates. And all of this is your preparation to enter the Night Watcher. So Fishing, and I made a bold guess. You, Li Flying, are the 2nd personality born to disguise Nanda's Serpent Yogwai. Actually, you can enjoy all aspects of human society to your heart's content with your lifespan and talent. But why do you have to take the risk of planning this drama? I guess it's because you were scared by the King of the Phantom Mask event half a month ago, right? You are worried that you will also be hunted by the Night Watcher, so you staged this big show by yourself. And all this is just to join the Night Watcher, to transcend beyond this troubled situation. Upon hearing this, Nanda's Serpent Yogwai couldn't help but applaud. It's truly wonderful. I never expected to fall into your hands. The next moment, it revealed its true form. Lin Seven-Night looked at the large hand coming towards him, and smiled slightly. Sorry, the night has fallen, the tables have turned. With the blessing of Starry Dancer, countless afterimages appeared on the battlefield. In less than a second, Nanda's Serpent Yogwai's body simultaneously split open several gashes. Lin Seven-Night took the opportunity to decapitate him with one stroke. Just as everyone was about to pack up and return, a staff member hurried over and said, Captain Chen is in trouble. The head of the Nanda Serpent monster has gone missing. I suspect someone has hidden it. Upon hearing this, Chen Wilderness immediately ordered for Dream Whispers to be played throughout the entire campus. The person who stole the snake head after having their memory wiped will then fall into the trap. At this moment, Fishing is desperately covering his ears and running wildly on the campus. He opened the manhole cover and hid in the sewer, only then could he barely withstand the broadcast sound. Afterwards, he hastily opened his backpack, wanting to take a look at the head of the Nanda serpent monster. The next second, his eyes gleamed with green light. He instantly saw the skeleton inside his palm. Then he frantically sliced the skull with a small knife, all the while shouting in his mouth, "I understand! I understand! So this is how it works! It's really interesting!" After the troops were dismissed, Lin Seven-Night went to the dungeon of the psychiatric hospital. The system prompt reappeared. Unlike the previous king of the Phantom Mask, this time Nanda's serpent Yogwai has 2 loyalty values, which made him suspect whether it was caused by a dual personality. He stepped forward and said to Nanda's serpent Yogwai, "Now is the time for you to show me your worth. If I am not satisfied, you will disappear." Nanda's serpent Yogwai knelt on the ground and said, "He can infiltrate and penetrate unnoticed. His combat power will be even stronger when he grows up." But Lin Seven-Night was not satisfied after hearing that, and then asked him if he would take care of mental patients and just make the old lady happy. Upon hearing this, Nanda's serpent Yogwai was furious. "Damn it, you want me to do this kind of work? You might as well kill me." But when he saw Lin Seven-Night really ready to take action, he backed down again. He said that although he couldn't do it, Li Flying was very good at it. So Lin Seven-Night took out the labor contract and made him agree that his body would be controlled by Li Flying except when absolutely necessary. As a result, Li Flying smoothly became the first caregiver at the psychiatric hospital. Nick saw him at first sight, treating him as her own grandson. And for the past half-month, Lin Seven-Night chats and takes medicine with Nick every day. His condition has improved a lot, and it is believed that the treatment progress will reach 50% in no time. During this time, he has also thoroughly stabilized the lantern stage through cultivation. It won't be long before he can break through to the next stage. And in a few more days, the new recruit training in Songnan is about to begin. At the same time, inside a temple somewhere, a man is practicing meditation by knocking the wooden fish. Suddenly, he seems to lose control and strikes the wooden fish wildly. He only snapped out of it when the abbot appeared. The abbot handed him the letter, saying, "Patron Chalabis, your letter has arrived." Looking at the contents of the letter, he asked in confusion, "Abbot, I have committed serious sins. Do you think I should go?" Abbot said that Chalabis has been meditating here in this temple for 5 years, and the evil nature in his heart has been suppressed, so he is allowed to go. Before leaving, Abbot reminded Chalabis that on his journey to Songnan, he will meet a noble person. If he seizes the opportunity, not only can he cleanse his sins, but he can also achieve enlightenment. Upon hearing this, Chalabis asked Abbot who the noble person was. However, Abbot only told him, "With 2 trees I stand, one of 8 gods departs, a decade into darkness, guide the souls of mortals." Sitting in the car, Chalabis kept thinking about the meaning of the sentence that Abbot said. This is a fight for the dignity of the new recruits. In the same stage situation, 239 people fought against 5 people. As long as you lift the mask of any one of the 5, you can win and graduate early. But the man said that he alone is enough to deal with these new recruits. Just now, Lin Seven-Night arrived at the training camp and was greeted by an instructor named Hong Immense. Hong Immense first familiarized him with the surrounding environment. Lin Seven-Night noticed that the passers-by were constantly sizing him up, consciously or unconsciously. He asked Hong Immense why they kept staring at him. Hong Immense replied, "Agent of the Divine is a rare commodity. The last one who walked out of the training camp was an agent of the Divine. He is now the captain of Masked Squad. You should know that Masked Squad is one of the 4 major special operation teams. The strength of these 4 captains is second only to the commander-in-chief in the entire Great Xia. It's normal for them to feel curious about you." At the same time, another instructor in the distance also greeted Lin Seven-Night with a smile, but he showed helplessness when he lowered his head to look at the list. What the hell lineup is this year? Besides Lin Seven-Night, this Seraphim agent, there are also 3 users of critical threat Forbidden Ruins. One of them, Sequence, is at least in the top 50. If it weren't for the masked squad, I really couldn't control them. At this moment, someone pointed to a name, and the instructor immediately widened his eyes. Why is this young Master Biley Daylight here too? After Lin Seven-Night finished understanding the training camp, he came to the dormitory. Just as he was checking the bedding, a burly man in a suit suddenly broke in. After looking around, he spoke into the intercom and said, "Confirming safety, you can let the young master in now." A group of security guards was seen walking and carrying something. Then, they all stood on both sides, leaving a path for the teenager. The teenager grasped Lin Seven-Night's hand tightly, as soon as he entered the room, his face beaming as he called him, "Brother." This really caught Lin Seven-Night off guard. Later, the young man asked the security guard to bring out all the gifts, and he said that he could also call himself Biley Daylight Fatty. These watches are specialties of his family, and are not valuable items. Let Lin Seven-Night just take them, and don't despise them. Lin Seven-Night briefly introduced himself, then he refused Fatty's kindness and turned to leave. 2 days later, the new recruit training began. The chief instructor Yuan Gang criticized the recruits, saying that they are even worse than useless rookies. At this time, a young man unconsciously made a disdainful sound. Yuan Gang immediately became interested after listening. What's going on? Is someone not convinced? The young man earlier was the first to raise his hand and express his dissatisfaction. The next second, more and more people in the crowd raised their hands. Yuan Gang roared at this moment. "Since so many of you do not surrender, I will give you a chance to recognize yourselves." At this moment, on a plane, the members of the masked squad are enjoying barbecue. The next second, the bottom of the cabin suddenly opened. Several people are falling straight down like this. Several people are striking a handsome pose as they make a grand entrance, seeing the formidable masked squad. Intense discussions erupted in the audience. Everyone did not expect that the masked squad would actually be invited to the stage, and their entrance was unexpectedly handsome. Upon seeing this, Yuan Gang smiled lightly and said, "Who asked you not to accept it? I will let you know later what true top experts are." Therefore, Yuan Gang began to announce the rules. Masked squads suppressed their stage to lantern stage level and faced off against 239 new recruits in a 5v5 battle. Using any means necessary, if they could remove the mask of any member of masked squad, they would be considered the winners. The battle time is from now until 9 p.m. If you win, it proves that you are indeed very awesome, and I will apply for early graduation for you tomorrow. But if no one achieves it before 9 p.m., then it proves that you are indeed rubbish. In the future, your ridiculous pride and arrogance will be thrown into the toilet. Obey whatever the instructor tells you to do. Do you understand? If you need weapons, you can find them in the warehouse. With that, the instructor team left the scene. Many new soldiers on the scene immediately felt discontented. Wow! So arrogant! It's all about combat skills at the lantern stage anyway. Even if the masked squad is extraordinary, our group of over 200 people can overwhelm them easily. They are really looking down on us. Charge, brothers! Let's kill them! The next second, the field was ablaze with fire, and everyone started the attack on the forbidden ruins. However, at this moment, Lin Seven-Night pulled Fatty and ran towards the back. Fatty was a bit puzzled by this. Clearly, masked squad was done for, so why were we running? Upon hearing this, Lin Seven-Night calmly explained that it's impossible for a special squad to be defeated so easily. Their combat strength is still completely unknown, and rushing forward without knowing the abilities and fighting style of the Forbidden Ruins is simply asking for trouble. As Lin Seven-Night predicted, the new recruits who launched the attack not only failed to harm the masked squad at all, but were also sent flying by a single blow from them. At this moment, Lin Seven-Night brought Fatty to the weapon arsenal only to find that the door was locked. Because his Forbidden Ruins did not have the ability to cause large-scale destruction, he asked Fatty to try using Forbidden Ruins. Who knew? Fatty said he didn't have Forbidden Ruins at all. Hearing this, Lin Seven-Night was stunned. How did you manage to get into the Night Watcher in the first place? Suddenly, a red-haired woman ran over, exuding a majestic aura from all around her. The next second, the door of the armory was blasted into pieces. So Lin Seven-Night asked if she was using the critical threat level Forbidden Ruins. But the woman's attitude was very arrogant. Why should I tell you? Who do you think you are? In an instant, Lin Seven-Night swung his sword directly towards the woman's neck. This is the most humiliating battle for the new recruits. 40 new recruits were surrounded by 4 veteran soldiers on the same stage, while the 40 individuals could only stand in place and be beaten up. The veterans even taunted them, saying they were like chicks in a chicken coop. Just now, Lin Seven-Night suddenly swung his knife and attacked Molly. Molly instinctively wanted to draw her knife, but she quickly realized something was wrong. Just then, a knife appeared out of thin air and clashed with Lin Seven-Night's. Seeing this, Molly quickly drew her own knife and cautiously searched for the enemy. Suddenly, a figure appeared out of thin air. He was Moon Ghost from the masked squad. Moon Ghost asked, "You must be the agent of Seraphim, right? Your aura is very similar to the captain's. No wonder you could sense my presence." However, Molly didn't want to waste time talking to him. She immediately activated the Forbidden Ruins and attacked. With one strike, she severed Moon Ghost's right hand. But in the next second, Moon Ghost's arm instantly healed. Seeing this, Molly looked shocked. How is this possible? Even with high-speed regeneration, it shouldn't be this fast, right? The all-seeing Lin Seven-Night then explained, "Your attack didn't actually touch him at all. When your wind blade hit his body, he had already disintegrated his own arm into moonlight to dodge the attack." Upon hearing Lin Seven-Night's words, Moon Ghost smiled and said, "Indeed, Seraphim Agent is the most dangerous. I'll have to take you out first." Suddenly, a loud explosion sounded beside them. A group of new recruits, holding weapons, excitedly shouted, "Brothers, seize the opportunity! Take off his mask and we win!" Countless bullets were shot towards Moon Ghost in an instant, but not a single one hit him. They couldn't hit him even when they shot directly at him. Many new recruits were dumbfounded. In an instant, Moon Ghost rushed to their front. Just as Moon Ghost was about to wield the knife to deal with them, suddenly Moon Ghost felt a powerful oppressive force, and then his ability to transform into the moon in the Forbidden Ruins was nullified. Then Lin Seven-Night engaged in a fierce battle with Moon Ghost, holding a sword. Suddenly Lin Seven-Night swiftly retreated and shouted to open fire now, but when the new soldiers were about to shoot, their weapons actually floated up on their own. Members of the masked squad, Vortex and Rose, emerged, saying excitedly, "The mice hiding in the hole have finally come out. You are surrounded by us. Surrender quickly." Moon Ghost hurried to his teammates and said, "Luckily you arrived just in time. Among the new recruits, there is an agent of the divine. I almost messed up." Upon hearing this, Vortex laughed and said, "So what if he is an agent of the divine? He's just a rookie now. Let's see how Grandpa Vortex trains him." Rose on the side couldn't stand it anymore and immediately waved her hand, signaling them to quickly resolve the battle. Molly, feeling the pressure, looked at Lin Seven-Night with a serious expression and asked, "What should we do now? Should we fight them?" Lin Seven-Night advised her not to act recklessly for the time being. Later, Lin Seven-Night shouted to the other new recruits, "Listen to me. The masked squad may be powerful, but there are only 4 of them. Even if we can't win in a fight, as long as everyone breaks through at the same time, there is definitely a chance to escape." The new recruits all felt that this plan was very feasible. It's not shameful for new recruits to run away if they can't beat the enemy. Vortex laughed when he heard this and said, "You little chicks, why do you always think about running around? Just let us defeat you quickly, okay?" At this moment, Lin Seven-Night quietly signaled Molly to use the Forbidden Ruins to break the wall next to them. Shortly after, Lin Seven-Night called out with a long sword in hand for everyone to launch an attack. Find the right moment to escape. At the words, Rose's momentum suddenly surged. Do you want to attack aggressively? Then let me play with you. Looking at Rose's momentum, the new recruits were all stunned on the spot. Molly also quietly gathered her strength, while everyone's attention was on Rose. She split open the wall next to her with a single stroke. Lin Seven-Night immediately shouted, "Take action now!" Everyone started to move upon seeing a chance to escape. After all, in this situation, whoever runs slow will be left behind. Vortex directly manipulated the force field to launch several blades. The new soldiers were immediately thrown into chaos. Rose also casually summoned a pink hammer. She immediately sealed up the crack that had just been opened. She stood on the hammer playfully, looking down at the new soldiers below. Then she shouted, "Run! Why aren't you running?" Seeing this scene, Fatty was dumbfounded. Oh my goodness, this masked squad is too fierce. Maybe I should use... He didn't finish his sentence. Lin Seven-Night picked him up and ran, leaving Fatty bewildered. Didn't we agree to break out? What are you doing? Lin Seven-Night explained speechlessly. Are you dumb? The main gate is unguarded now. Why not just go that way? And so, Lin Seven-Night, Fatty Molly, and 3 others left through the main gate in broad daylight. Molly couldn't help but praise. Using those new recruits as a cover to attract the attention of masked squad, you are really clever. After seeing Lin Seven-Night escape, Rose didn't care anymore. She directly dealt with the new recruits on the scene. Vortex then chased after him. They are the strongest fighting force of Huaxia. The octopus sea monster, 1 ship, and 1 ship at a time, were all cut in half by them with 1 sword. But they were almost killed by Lin Seven-Night. Just now, Lin Seven-Night escaped from the weapon arsenal using a trick. Vortex immediately chased after him, but as soon as he stepped out, he saw a cart awkwardly coming towards him. Lin Seven-Night, on the other hand, was holding a key with a smile on his face, waving and greeting him. Just as Vortex was full of doubt. Suddenly, he saw the cart piled full of explosives in the cart. He hadn't reacted yet when in an instant, flames shot up into the sky, directly devouring everything around. The smoke cleared, revealing that the armory that had just stood before their eyes had been completely leveled. The other members of the masked squad looked incredibly at the scene in front of them. After a moment, Rose realized that it was the entrance that exploded first, triggering the explosion of all the ammunition in the armory. At this moment, Vortex walked out cursing in the smoke. This guy's heart is truly dark. If I hadn't reacted quickly and opened up the devouring vortex in time, I might have been done for. Suddenly, he hurriedly touched his mask. Fortunately, the mask was still there and everything was fine, otherwise, I would be too embarrassed to show my face. At the same time, the instructors were all praising Lin Seven-Night. He truly lives up to the title of Agent of the Divine with remarkable skills. In such a situation, he was able to break through successfully and almost blew up Vortex's mask. Another instructor, looking at the report in their hand, raised a question: why hasn't Lin Seven-Night used the deity ruins of the Seraphim yet? That is the divine domain of the mortal world at sequence 003. If he had used it just now, he could have easily escaped without detonating explosives, right? Upon hearing this, Yuan Gang said that he was waiting for an opportunity. At this moment, Lin Seven-Night and the others have also escaped to a safe place. Fatty looked worried and said, Seven-Night, you are so ruthless. You didn't blow him up directly, did you? Lin Seven-Night didn't think so. He said, if he died so easily, he would have become a member of a special squad who relies on connections. It's a pity we didn't blow his mask off just now, otherwise, we would have one. At this moment, Molly stood up and introduced herself. I am Molly from the Forbidden Ruins, part of the All Things in Motion sequence 076. I can control the vibration frequency of any object I come into contact with within the Forbidden Ruins. Lin Seven-Night also shook hands with her and said, I am Lin Seven-Night, a Seraphim agent. The one over there is Bailey Daylight. He does not have access to the Forbidden Ruins. After getting to know each other, Molly asked Lin Seven-Night seriously why they were deceived to act as bait. Lin Seven-Night, contemplating the next plan, replied, "They were never going to escape. We were able to break out because there were only 3 of us. If more people attempted to break out, the masked squad would undoubtedly redirect their main forces to intercept. None of us would be able to escape then. In the end, we simply exploited the difference in value between ourselves and the majority, forcing the masked squad to make a choice. If we had stubbornly joined the others in breaking out, not a single person would have escaped." Fatty's face was full of worry when he heard this. "According to what you said, the masked squad is too strong, almost without any weaknesses. Are we destined to lose?" Lin Seven-Night directly denied Fatty's statement, saying that as long as we have not been eliminated, we still have a chance. Many new soldiers have been eliminated now. Those who can stay are either like us, who stick together, or slightly stronger in strength. They are all preparing to ambush Masked Squad in various corners. Masked Squad will definitely seize the opportunity and defeat them one by one. The only places in the training camp where undercover operations can be carried out are the cafeteria, classrooms, dormitory building, and tactical research laboratory, with the largest area and the highest level of concealment. Therefore, the ambushing team will definitely be the largest. Masked Squad will inevitably choose the toughest challenge at the beginning, considering the consumption of time, physical strength, and divine power. But Masked Squad has a fatal flaw, which is the disadvantage in numbers, and this is also our greatest opportunity. It is time to take the initiative and attack. At the same time, Shin Azure Bamboo is also with a group of people discussing how to ambush Masked Squad. At this time, one of his teammates thought that this ambush seems a bit too obvious, and they might be taken out by Masked Squad in one fell swoop. Shin Azure Bamboo, however, paid little attention to this statement. "It's okay. Everything is within my plan." Moon Ghost, who had been eavesdropping on the side, couldn't listen any longer and couldn't help but show up to comment. "I've been listening to your plan for so long, I can't help it anymore. Your plan has too many loopholes. If you go into battle, you'll definitely mess things up." Everyone reacted instantly and drew their swords, charging towards Moon Ghost. Moon Ghost quickly dealt with most of the new recruits in just a few moves. Shin Azure Bamboo looked at Moon Ghost with a myriad of thoughts. Suddenly, he snapped his fingers, and instantly a black barrier unfolded around him. Soon, it enveloped Moon Ghost. Trapped inside, Moon Ghost realized something was amiss. At this moment, Shin Azure Bamboo spoke. "Mask, I know even though you can't hear my voice, you must be able to understand my lip movements. I have removed all the gas in the vicinity now. In a vacuum environment, people do not die immediately. Typically, they can survive for 6 seconds. Except for me, everyone else in this vacuum environment can only survive for 6 seconds. It has been 7 seconds now. You'd better take off your mask yourself, otherwise I don't mind killing you along with them here." Just as Shin Azure Bamboo finished speaking, a long knife was shot towards him. He instinctively wielded his knife to defend against it. But he quickly realized something was wrong, yet it was already too late. He was kicked into the air by the air itself. Moon Ghost slowly lifted the invisibility and looked at him with a cold expression. When Shin Azure Bamboo was kicked away, the gas in this area returned again. Moon Ghost's tone was icy to the extreme. "You lunatic! How could you be so ruthless in this battle?" Shin Azure Bamboo shakily raised his hand. "How else could I force you out?" At this moment, the ring on his middle finger emitted a sizzling energy. The next second, a violent explosion erupted with a deafening roar. The new recruits were determined to defeat the veteran soldiers. They even launched grenades at their seniors. But the seniors simply raised their hands and caught the grenades. Just now, there was a big explosion on the dormitory rooftop. Lin Seven-Night and the other 2 who have been secretly observing from a distance also noticed the situation. Lin Seven-Night observed and analyzed, saying, "It's just as I thought." The Masked Squad will first spread out, then expand the search area in the dormitory area. Once anyone makes contact with the enemy, everyone will quickly converge towards that person. The guy named Shin Bamboo is causing a stir, although he hasn't blown off his mask yet. I'm afraid the masked squad has already started to focus in his direction. On the side, Fatty questioned, "Didn't you just say we should actively hunt down the masked squad? Why are we still here watching from the sidelines?" Molly, feeling frustrated, scolded, "Fool! He is waiting for the leader of the masked squad to make a move. Until now, only his abilities remain unknown. It is common sense to gather information about the prey before hunting." After observing, Lin Seven-Night thinks that Shin Bamboo probably still has a trick up his sleeve. At the same time, Moon Ghost and Shin Bamboo are putting on a chase show. I see Shin Bamboo has been chasing after Moon Ghost all along. Moon Ghost immediately threw the long knife backwards, slowing down Shin Bamboo's pace. But the long knife was immediately bounced back by the barrier. Fortunately, he had transformed his body into a shadow in advance, avoiding the damage of the long sword. Next, Shin Bamboo raised his hand, and the ring emitted a sizzling energy again. Suddenly, a violent explosion erupted with a loud bang. Moon Ghost walked out of the thick smoke looking a bit angry. Why are these new recruits so fond of causing explosions? Have they watched too much Naruto? Shin Bamboo said that by compressing the content of oxygen and nitrogen to a certain ratio and adding some sparks, an explosion can be triggered. This kind of wide-ranging indiscriminate killing power is your nemesis. Upon hearing this, Moon Ghost adjusted his mask and said, "With your current stage, your attack range is only 10 meters, which is still a far cry from the wide-ranging indiscriminate killing power. It's enough to deal with you." After saying that, Shin Bamboo charged towards Moon Ghost again. Suddenly, the light above his head dimmed as if being enveloped by something. Looking up, he discovered a gigantic square object descending from the sky. Startled, he hurriedly exerted force to resist. That Zhonghai giant hammer was no joke. Rose shrank the hammer and said with some amusement, "Forbidden Ruins Sequence 068, Chi Min, critical threat, Forbidden Ruins. No wonder Drillmaster Yuan called on us to take action. This is indeed a bit tricky." At this moment, the entire masked squad gathered and looked around in confusion. Wasn't it said that among the new recruits this time, there were 3 critical threats in addition to 1 agent of the Divine? The woman with the machete just now, along with a man who manipulated the air. Where is the third one? No one answered, only saying that we had been deceived. Vortex turned around and saw 4 people walking towards them. At the same time, windows on both sides of the dormitory suddenly broke, countless guns aimed at them, and vines and soil walls dozens of meters high rose along the way. The new soldiers tightly blocked the area of the 5 people, combined with the structure of the dormitory building, turning this place into a closed arena. The smoke cleared, Shin Bamboo appeared with dozens of new soldiers. He sneered and looked at the masked squad, saying, "You don't think there is someone hidden in the masks, do you? We still don't know this information even now." In fact, the real battle arrangement was finished long ago. The plan just now was deliberately mentioned for this assassin with the moon mask to hear. Upon hearing this, Libra couldn't help but commend the cleverness of the arrangement. They knew they couldn't win in a direct confrontation, so they set up a closed circular firepower network here. They intend to wear us down with their numerical advantage. Vortex looked at King Face and said, "This is getting a bit tricky, Captain. It's time for you to take action too. I want to get back early for barbecue." Seeing Vortex being so arrogant, the new recruits immediately opened fire. But Vortex just casually raised a hand and opened a purple vortex, which swallowed all the attacks. Seeing that the attacks were ineffective, the new recruits became nervous. Shin Bamboo, however, yelled, "Keep attacking! They can't hold on for much longer against Lantern Stage's divine power." As expected, Vortex has started complaining to King Face, saying that he is being drained quickly. Upon hearing this, King Face instructed Vortex to stop. In an instant, the purple vortex disappeared as its ammunition was detonated. Upon seeing this, The new recruits all became excited. We did it! Let's keep it up, brothers. But to their surprise, the bullet stopped in front of King Face again, and at the same time, Shin Azure Bamboo's movement slowed down. He suddenly realized that time had been slowed, and during this stagnant time, King Face seemed to slowly draw the dark blade from his waist. Just as a flash of golden light, followed by a giant blade aura, cut the entire building in half. Molly, who was secretly observing from a distance, was incredulous when she saw this scene. Is this really Lantern Stage? It's like cheating, almost unbelievable. At this time, Fatty next to them explained. You're right, he really cheated. Behind King Face is Kronos, the time god, codenamed 017. His deity ruins is all about controlling time. The dark blade in his hand is a forbidden item that can unleash the Forbidden Ruins Blade Swan. The effect is to condense one's own speed into Blade Gang. The faster the speed, the stronger the Blade Gang. Although this forbidden item itself has a low danger level, in King Face's hands, it possesses a killing power comparable to critical threat. With just the acceleration of Lantern Stage, he can unleash a Blade Gang comparable to Flowing Stage. Lin Seven-Night and the Fatty were both very shocked to see how familiar King Face was. The blade swan in his hand was originally a gift from my family to him. When I was young, I used to use that knife to kill mosquitoes. Upon hearing this, Molly asked in surprise, Is your family the one known as the Forbidden Objects Museum Biley clan? Keep a low profile. I'm just a kid from an ordinary family. Molly said disdainfully that she hates rich young playboys the richer they are, the more she dislikes them. Men are natural masters of swordsmanship but cannot draw their swords. Because once he grasps the sword, the power of the demon within him will awaken. He who draws the sword will become like the infernal Azura. Kill everything he sees. Just now, King Face sliced the building in half with one stroke of his sword. He immediately started arranging the operation. Rosemoon, Ghost Vortex, you three come with me to search elsewhere. Libra, stay at the dormitory and see if there are any fish that have slipped through the net. It's time to have a good meeting with that agent of the divine who has been escaping all this time. Libra complained while cleaning. How is it possible for anyone to slip through when we're doing this? Captain, you are too cautious. As soon as the words fell, Chalabis in the ruins just moved the stones and walked out. This really scared Libra. I might be a jinx, but it's interesting that everything is okay. Your adaptability as a new soldier is very good. Chalabis explained that I was not adapting, just resting in the room. Floating rubble, is this your forbidden ruins? Feels pretty good. Hurry up and eliminate me. Libra was stunned. What did you say? Don't you want to resist a little? Chalabis sat up with a helpless expression on his face. Boring. And I'm afraid I'll kill you after resisting. Libra burst into laughter upon hearing this. Interesting. You're quite confident as a new soldier. Are you looking down on me? Chalabis said seriously, maybe. This immediately aroused Libra's curiosity. If that's the case, then I have to give it a try. Just as the two were talking, a sword energy attacked Libra. He dodged and controlled the surrounding debris to counterattack at the same time. Molly easily shattered all the debris with a long knife in her hand. Lin Seven-Night also took the opportunity to grab Chalabis's collar, wanting to take him away to escape. But Chalabis counter-questioned Lin Seven-Night. Why are you trying to save me? I actually want to be eliminated. Upon hearing this, Lin Seven-Night was momentarily stunned before saying, Suit yourself. However, we are about to engage in a battle with masked squad here. If you have no intention to participate, please do not interfere with our actions. At this moment, Fatty shouted from behind, Seven-Night, come help me quickly. I can't handle this Shin Azure Bamboo on my own. Upon hearing the name Seven-Night, Chalabis's face was full of shock as he asked, What is Lin Seven-Night's surname? Lin Seven-Night turned around and said his surname is Lin. Chalabis immediately recalled the characteristics of the nobleman that the abbot had told him about. With 2 trees I stand, one of 8 gods departs, a decade into darkness, I guide the souls of mortals. Suddenly a hand interrupted his thoughts. Only saw Libra eagerly looking at him. I finally got rid of that lady with the broadsword just to come find you. Come and chop me quickly. I'm really curious. Don't worry, you can't kill me. Chalabis picked up the knife and muttered to himself. It seems like he sees me as a deserter now. I need to change this bad impression. He then drew his sword and looked seriously at Libra. I want to confirm one last time, are you sure you can survive? After receiving a positive answer, Chalabis immediately slashed forward with his sword. Libra immediately activated defense. At the moment of confrontation, Libra felt a strong sense of unease. This blow vividly made Libra feel a life-or-death crisis. Luckily, King Face arrived just in time at this critical moment of life and death. A terrifying blade gang chopped Chalabis, and the others directly with knives. King Face looked helplessly at Libra and told him that he had underestimated the enemy. Libra rubbed his eyes, and still couldn't recover from the shock. What exactly was that thing? The first 30 levels of the Black King's Annihilation Forbidden Ruins sequence, which is said to be a place where all beings are equal under the gods, are collectively known as the Divine Domain. And this Black King's Annihilation is level 31 of the Forbidden Ruins sequence. This power is too strong while he is too weak. So much so that he will completely lose consciousness after using the Forbidden Ruins. Right now, he is relying on instinct to fight. This is a truly indiscriminate attack. When going crazy, he would even attack his own mother. Upon hearing this, Libra's body slowly rose. He gazed at the madman Chalabis and said seriously, I understand. I was indeed careless just now. Now I will go all out. He spread out his palm. In an instant, countless small stones flew towards Chalabis, while Libra also jumped onto the stones to start flying Chalabis's kite. Watching Libra's ability vortex, Chalabis couldn't help but exclaim with envy, saying, I'm so envious of Libra's ability to fly whenever they want. Upon hearing this, Rose swung a punch at his head and scolded, Fool! The captain told you not to just stand by and watch Libra fight. Quickly find that agent of the divine from earlier. Just as they were talking, Molly suddenly brandished a sword and struck towards them. Vortex used Forbidden Ruins and easily blocked Rose's attack with a single move. At the same time, Lin Seven-Night, who was watching from a distance, immediately instructed Shin Azure Bamboo to help Molly. Shin Azure Bamboo, feeling displeased, said, Why do you have the authority to command me? Lin Seven-Night's eyes sparked with golden light. You all help me delay the masked squad members. I will go fight their captain, Lin Seven-Night said. Shin Azure Bamboo looked bewildered by this statement. Before leaving, he said, Damn it! If I don't win, you better wait for me. And at this moment, Fatty was secretly watching Molly's gracefulness, completely unaware that Moon Ghost had already approached him from behind. After Moon Ghost swung his knife down, it was blocked by a golden barrier. Then the air suddenly became quiet, and the two of them looked at each other somewhat awkwardly. Moon Ghost strikes again. As a result, the small knife was instantly broken into 2 pieces. Looking at the broken knife, Moon Ghost fell into contemplation. Fatty shyly raised the necklace on his neck. Sorry, with this jade light barrier, physical attacks can't hurt me. By the way, it can also be used for attacks. It is sequence 171 and ranks high in the Forbidden Ruins. The entire battlefield is filled with smoke. Apart from Lin Seven-Night and King Face, everyone else is fighting together. At this moment, Lin Seven-Night has also found King Face. Why are you just standing here and watching? King Face waved his hand and said, I have been waiting for you for a long time. At the same time, the instructor's basement is shaking violently. Should we consider changing location? They wouldn't collapse this place, would they? It shouldn't happen. This place is 10 meters underground. How could a group of lantern stage do that? However, after looking at the surveillance footage, the instructor suddenly became less confident. Do you think a group of lantern stages can engage in this level of combat? Yuan Gang looked at the list in his hand and was very satisfied. It is unexpected that so many talents emerged in this new recruit training. It's possible that in a few years, the vacant 5th special team will be born again. Lin Seven-Night and King Face are about to have a showdown at their peak. On one side is the dignity of all the new recruits. On the other side is the prestige of the special team. Let's wait and see which side will emerge as the final winner. At this moment, in the field, Lin Seven-Night and King Face were staring at each other, both drawing their blades to break the silence. I know you, as the new agent of the divine, have many doubts. After this battle, you can come to me for a chat. Thank you, said Lin Seven-Night before initiating the attack directly. King Face immediately activated the deity ruin's divine domain of time. Lin Seven-Night suddenly felt that the movement slowed down, as if being shackled. Fortunately, now that it's nighttime, with the bonus from the Starry Dancer, Lin Seven-Night's movements are faster than during the day. At the moment when their weapons collided, King Face was greatly surprised by the speed. Could it be that the divine domain of the mortal world also has acceleration abilities? King Face didn't wait for Lin Seven-Night to respond, and instantly appeared behind him, delivering a strike towards him. Luckily, Lin Seven-Night reacted in time, and only had a few strands of hair cut off. The next moment, Lin Seven-Night quickly distanced himself from King Face, only then did he have time to catch his breath. If it weren't for the beating with Chen Wilderness's wooden knife before, he probably wouldn't be able to hold on for even 5 seconds now. King Face suddenly swung his knife again, and chopped towards Lin Seven-Night. The two began to fight again, and in just 2.5 minutes, they exchanged 250 blows. Meanwhile, on the ruins in the distance, Fatty and Molly have already seized the battle with the masked members. They are both watching the fight between Lin Seven-Night and King Face. Fatty, holding a pair of binoculars, sighed. The speed at which these two are fighting is too fast. I can't see them clearly at all. Aren't they tired from fighting like this? Moon Ghost helplessly replied. I don't know if they are tired, but I've been taking hits all day. I am really tired. Suddenly, Fatty shouted. Seven-Night, come on! Beat them up! Masked squad members also saw Fatty cheering, and didn't want to fall behind. In the midst of battle, King Face joked. Listen to my cheering, it's more powerful than yours. Lin Seven-Night disagrees, saying, Opening the deity ruins for so long, with your outstanding divine power on the lantern stage, you must be nearing your limit. King Face did not deny it but said, My deity ruins is powerful, but my divine power is also quickly consumed. However, I still have one final blow left. By the way, is winning this battle so important to you? Lin Seven-Night charged at King Face again, saying, I don't care about winning or losing. I just want to give it my all. Upon hearing this, King Face also positioned Blade Swan in front of him and said, Well said. Then I will also give it my all with my final blow. This time, you won't be able to dodge it. In an instant, King Face emitted a strong aura of divine majesty all around him. A surge of impact rushed into Lin Seven-Night's mind, causing his movements to pause for a moment. When he came back to his senses, King Face's knife had already appeared before him. Lin Seven-Night's eyes flashed with a golden light in an instant. Two powerful divine powers collide with each other. The explosion's shockwave pushed back the crowd in the distance several steps. Just as the two were deadlocked, Lin Seven-Night suddenly felt a surge of warmth filled with power. Just saw Lin Seven-Night's eyes shining even more brightly, and in an instant, it shattered King Face's time deity ruins. Before King Face could come to his senses, Lin Seven-Night's knife had already slashed towards his mask. Only a crisp sound was heard. The next second, the mask shattered with a bang. The onlookers were all stunned at this moment. The instructor watching the monitor was also stunned. The mask had actually cracked open. King Face looked at Lin Seven-Night and quietly said, I'm sorry. Suddenly, his eyes shone with golden light. Fragments of the mask shattered in midair, rapidly flowing back to King Face's face. Lin Seven-Night's figure also strangely returned to its position before the attack. In a trance, the mask on King Face's face was suddenly restored to its original state. Lin Seven-Night is confused. What is going on? King Face explained that he just liberated his stage, and used the deity ruins to rewind everything within a radius of 2 kilometers back by 3 seconds. Lin Seven-Night stared wide-eyed, like brass bells, and pointed at the crowd in the distance. Can't they see it? King Face cleared his throat. Apart from you with the deity ruins, everyone's memory has also gone back 3 seconds. However, my teammates and some stronger instructors should all realize that I have reversed time. Upon hearing this, Lin Seven-Night was furious. How dare you try to shift the blame? King Face felt a bit embarrassed by the remarks. Lin Seven-Night, I admit I just lost to you, but this new recruit training must proceed. Do you understand what I mean? Are you asking me to pretend that I didn't win? To act as if nothing happened just now? I'm sorry, my principles do not allow me to do that. I will tell the truth to all the new recruits. Upon hearing Lin Seven-Night's words, King Face raised his hand and gestured a 5. There is a 500,000 red envelope plus a prohibited item, and I owe you a favor as well. Is that enough? Upon hearing such generous terms, Lin Seven-Night felt that his principles didn't seem so important anymore. He agreed to the deal immediately. At this moment, the female instructor in the monitoring room had a worried look on her face. She asked the leader if his mask had just been broken by Yuan Gang. Yuan Gang nodded. I sensed that King Face must have used that move. This is a last resort. Training must continue. This is not for our own reputation, but for the future of these children. He glanced at the clock. It's 9 o'clock. The battle is over. Suddenly, a powerful voice swept through the training camp. The battle is over. Masked Squad wins. Yuan Gang stood on the stage angrily reprimanding the new recruits. I am very disappointed in all of you. 239 people against 5 people. Most of you didn't even touch the hem of Masked Squad. Just as I said before, you are useless. Since we lost, follow what I said before. Abandon all your self-esteem and pride, forget your past, and devote yourself wholeheartedly to training. He pointed to the blackboard next to him and said, This training session will last for 1 year. The first half of the year will be purely physical training. During this time, we will use an object to suppress the forbidden ruins within you, making you lose your proud special powers and become completely ordinary. During this period, we will torture you in various ways, making you physically and mentally exhausted, keeping you on the brink of collapse. You will feel despair, pain, and even think about seeking death. Unfortunately, here, you won't even be able to seek death. As for the second part, let's talk about it when you can survive this first half. The man slashed the dormitory into 2 halves with 1 strike. Just when everyone thought they would have to spend the night in the wilderness, they were surprised to find that the dormitory building had returned to its original state. Many new soldiers were baffled, but Shin Azure Bamboo was so shocked that he was trembling. What kind of power was this that could restore the building in just half an hour? Lin Seven-Night sighed in the dark as he laid his hand on the rebuilt dormitory building. I guess that fellow made a move again, he said. Fatty stood nearby, looking confused. What's going on, Seven-Night? How come you're speaking in riddles now? Meanwhile, King Face looked extremely weak, as if suffering from severe kidney deficiency, being carried forward by Vortex and Libra. Vortex said in distress, Captain, why go to such lengths? Just let the logistics team fix the dormitory building. Why do we have to resort to time reversal and put back the building together? It's too much of a burden on your divine power. Upon hearing this, King Face slapped Libra's head and said, You can't say that. I was the one who demolished those 3 buildings. One person does the deed, one person bears the responsibility. At this moment, Rose also spoke up in confusion. Captain, we have actually been wanting to ask you this for a while. Did you use time reversal today? Did we lose? King Face did not beat around the bush. We did lose. The younger generation is truly formidable. They are much stronger than we were back then. I believe they should be able to breeze through this training camp without any problem. However, on the training field the next day, Shin Azure Bamboo looked in pain. He was being pushed beyond his limits during training, rolling his eyes in agony. Many new recruits were even trained to exhaustion, lying on the ground. Yuan Gang stood in front of Shin Azure Bamboo and taunted. "What, can't handle just 50 laps? I remember you were so cocky at the beginning, saying 100 laps would be a piece of cake. What's wrong now?" After hearing this, Shin Azure Bamboo stood up unsteadily and said, "As a man, I can't back down. Just you wait and see." At the same time, Fatty was taken to the medical room after being pushed too hard. The doctor beside him said, "This chubby guy's physical fitness is really not good. He looks like this after just 20 laps. But his spirit is indeed commendable. He's the first one who passed out from running too hard." Till now, the only one in the entire training camp who can pass the 100 laps is Lin Seven-Night. Seeing him calm and composed without any signs of heavy breathing, everyone was amazed. What kind of monster is this guy who can run 100 laps without panting? Is he a humanoid Gundam? At this moment, Yuan Gang shouted from afar, "Lin Seven-Night, come here, someone is looking for you." It turned out that the person waving beside him was none other than King Face. This time, he came specifically to have a chat with Lin Seven-Night about the issue of being an agent of the divine. And Lin Seven-Night's first question to him was, "What is the relationship between an agent and the divine?" King Face explained that fundamentally, the relationship between an agent and the divine is actually a contractual one. Due to certain reasons, the divine generally does not appear directly in human society. If they want to do something, they must find a suitable person to help them complete it. At this time, a covenant will be formed between the individual and the divine. The essence of a covenant is exchange. God gives a portion of divine power to the agent, and in exchange, the agent needs to help God accomplish certain things. Of course, not everyone can become an agent. Only after God approves you do you have the qualifications to become an agent and fulfill this covenant. Upon hearing this, Lin Seven-Night felt even more puzzled because he had no impression of any covenant. This made him doubt whether the seraphim had given him divine power for some other purpose. Driven by curiosity, Lin Seven-Night asked King Face and Kronos, the time god, what their covenant was. King Face replied nonchalantly, "It was probably 8 or 9 years ago. At that time, I was still an ordinary person." That day, as I was crossing the street, a drunk driver's truck came rushing towards me. At the moment I was about to be thrown by the impact, time around me suddenly paused. Then, Kronos, the time god, pulled me into the void and made a contract with me, granting me his deity ruins in exchange.